Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Angie.
And together we are TwinFinity.
We are twin flames back with another 11 video. It's hard to believe it's another 11 day. They go so fast.
Months seem short.
Yes. So if you're not familiar with our 11 video series, we will link the others in the playlist up top there for you, so you can click on those and watch the others, because they're all different topics, but things relating specifically to the twin flame journey, to help us all on the twin flame journey, because it's not an easy journey.
No, it generally isn't.
No,
There's usually stumbling blocks somewhere.
Yes. So tonight's topic is
the benefits and blessings of other relationships during twin flame separation.
Yes. And why we were guided to do this topic is because many people on this journey struggle with the fact of especially their twin being in another relationship. Often when twin will go off and be in a karmic partner relationship, a soulmate relationship, they'll get married to someone else, and the twin that's usually the awakened one that's aware that they're twin flames really struggles with this and goes, but how do they not know we should be together? Like, what's wrong with them?
They had all the information at their fingertips because I told them that they had all the information.
Or they should just know because we have a special connection, and don't they know that we should be together? So we thought we would share some benefits of why it's actually a good thing when your twin is in another relationship, and it also can be a good thing if you choose to be in another relationship. And we want to just clarify too, it's not about just being in another relationship just to fill a void, to, you know, okay, my twin's with someone else, so I might as well just date or be with someone else just to be happy or not to be alone. It's not about that, and we'll get into that in some of the points. It's more about, do you feel a connection with somebody else? Because we're not just connected to our twin flame, we are connected with everybody, but we have special connections with other soulmates, maybe other karmic partners that we need to do some work and clearing with, which we'll get into in our points. So it's just a reminder that it's really not a bad thing to have other relationships. And if you know our story, our journey to union that we've shared, even our question and answer videos, we often talk about how we wouldn't be together at this point had it not been for the other relationships we both had in our separation, our long separation.
So let's get into the points.
Sure, you've got some bugs on you.
I'm gonna have bugs on me. It's sunset, and I've worn my sunset colored shirt just simply because I could. And somebody else who normally wears pink is wearing blue to cover the blue fort.
I tried to cover a different fort, although there is still pink. There's still pink somewhere.
Yes. So, and I can see pink too. The pink on the headband.
It's a rainbow headband. I got all the colors covered.
So I can go ahead and be all sunsetty all I want.
Yes, you can.
But it is attracting bugs.
Yes, it is.
One more bug just sent away.
So the first point of why it can be a huge benefit and a blessing to be with others is healing. You can often heal attachments, attachments to, of course, your twin flame. If you're thinking, oh my God, this is the only relationship that I can have, and you get into another love relationship and you discover you can actually feel love with someone else, that can heal unhealthy attachments and unhealthy kind of connections that you might have with your twin. Can also heal abandonment wounds, you know, when you've now felt like, well, my twin's just off and left without me, and she doesn't care about me. You can work through that when you yourself are in another relationship, or just understanding that your twin is working through their own stuff in a relationship. It can help you clear abandonment wounds. Abandonment
wounds are very, very common throughout the population, not just within the spiritual population or even the twin flame population. And for people who are more spiritually awake, they tend to try to work harder to fix some of these deeper core issues. And really, oftentimes we find that people are faced with more abandonment times so that they have more opportunity to work on the abandonment issues.
Yes.
And so when your twin flame partner has gone off on another relationship on you, hey, it's not necessarily about abandonment, but sure, it's another time where that's going to be coming up. So, yes, it's a great time to work on healing.
Yeah.
Because there's so much healing to be had, apparently.
Next one is
Growth. Opportunity to grow with another. That is my favorite point because that is what I did so much of
so much.
when I was in my 12-year karmic relationship, when I was away from Angie. It was very much about growth. There was so much aspects of, especially spirituality, because that was my weak starting point, was in spirituality. And there was just point after point after point of growth that was brought to my attention and that I casually observed, but didn't realize how much I was absorbing along the way. What I was really learning was the acceptance through the growth of where Angie was. And without that growth, without that opportunity for growth through my karmic relationship, there would be no way that I could have even entertained getting back together with Angie for anything more than a distant friendship, let alone seeing her for a slightly changed, slightly more, actually greatly more adapted person that she had become. So yes, very much about growth.
And I have the greatest gratitude towards Rob's karmic partner. Again, if you know our journey, you know he was with one person for 12 years. She helped him grow in ways that, quite frankly, I couldn't. We were too much enmeshed in each other in an unhealthy way when we were first together, that we couldn't help each other grow because there was too many triggers. There was too many things that were opposites, per se. So he needed this other person in his life to help him grow in ways that I couldn't, or in ways that he couldn't grow on his own. She was such a blessing to our union. As I say, we wouldn't be together if it wasn't for this person or somebody like her.
It was very much like just bridging a gap between the where I was and where I am, and also bridging a gap between not only where I am and where Angie was, but also where I am and where Angie had become.
Yes.
So it bridged many gaps that allowed my connection with Angie to be more like a chain, a connected chain of events when we were apart, as opposed to just being individual bits of connection.
Totally. So the next one is about clearing old patterns and templates. And why this one is of benefit is because we often have lived other lives with these other people that we may have relationships with while we're in separation with our twin flame, and we're needing to clear those, or it might not have anything to do with other lives. It might just be clearing other patterns. For example, for me, my last relationship was a 6-year relationship before Rob and I got back together. And one of the things that he would constantly tell me in that relationship is I had this pattern of what he would call, come here, go away, go away. So I had such fear of intimacy that I would allow him to get only so close, and then I would push him away. When he started bringing that up to my conscious awareness, I started realizing I was doing that with Rob many, many years ago, and that was one of the many reasons why we split up, because he couldn't handle me coming here, going away, pushing him away, and then pulling him close. It was so confusing, I'm sure, back then. So I needed this other partner to be able to kind of put in front of my face this pattern that I was doing so that I could awaken to it, be aware of it, and start to clear it.
Oftentimes, people get into relationships, and when that relationship falls apart, they go out and find another relationship that ultimately, from an outside point of view, looks very similar to the first relationship.
Totally.
And then the third relationship looks like the first two, and the fourth relationship looks like the first three. Sometimes you have to see those relationships and experience multiple events. I don't want to call them failures, because sometimes it's success within a lack of ability to step forward.
Yes.
But sometimes you need to see things multiple times to realize that you are the one that is creating these patterns that don't necessarily work out to a good final result. And then you can go back and look at what has happened, and when an opportunity comes back to get together with your twin, you're now aware of where those stumbling blocks are.
Absolutely. And if you've had a few different partners while you've been away from your twin flame, that's when you really start to notice the patterns. And then you can go, well, maybe this that I thought was all my twin flame's fault, that she was bringing this out in me, you can start to realize, no, even without them in my life, I still have these patterns. So this is mine to look at and fix and clear and work through.
And also, don't forget that other people in your life who love you, your friends and your family, they might make you aware of these patterns if you have not managed to bring it up yourself.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to take the advice of others. They're casual observers in your life as well.
Totally.
Point number 4. Balance. Balance.
Balance.
The almighty balance that everybody is looking for.
Yes.
My favorite balance in this, boy, we could probably do a whole video on balance.
Yes, we could.
But my favorite balance is the balance between spiritual life and what I call 3D, or what others would call real life. That is a real tough one to get, because when you're on the spiritual train, it is all consuming. But then other aspects of your life, like working and eating and sleeping and all these other things that tend to be fairly important, fall off to the wayside. And then when things fall apart spiritually, people jump off that poor spiritual bandwagon and completely lose the balance in the other direction.
Yeah.
When you have somebody else in your life, whether it's your twin flame or not your twin flame, they are supplying other aspects within the relationship that help keep a person's ability to focus on everything more evenly. They really do. They allow a person not to become obsessed one way or the other.
Oh, obsessed, yes.
There's another great word. Obsession is counterbalance.
Yes. And just to give a good example of how other relationships can help you find balance, for me, I, believe it or not, had 4 Robs in my life.
There's no balance in that.
This is Rob number 2. Yeah, that is kind of a weird balance, non-balance thing. So Rob number 1, I chased for 7 years. That is not balance. Rob number 2, when we broke up, we sort of chased cat and moused each other for a couple years. We finally kind of went our separate ways and figured out, okay, this is not working. Then Rob number 3 came into my life. Rob number 3, I was starting to find some balance, and I only chased him for a couple weeks. Then when Rob number 4 came along, finally in the realm of balance, or in the realm of chasing, I found balance. When he broke up with me, I did nothing. I just said, okay, you need to be apart from me, that's fine. And he was shocked. He was like, I can't believe you're not saying we should be together or that we should work this out. And I just said, no, if you don't want to be with me, then I don't want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with me. So it took me 4 relationships with 4 Robs, but I finally got balance in not chasing. So that's just an example of how different relationships help you find balance within yourself.
My 12-year relationship also took me further away than I'd ever been from being an extremist. And I'm talking about being an extremist from, let's say, an athletics point of view. I'll just use that as an example. I used to power sleep and then power go. Hike like crazy, climb like crazy, bike like crazy, run like crazy. There's another word, running, but we won't go into that. And I had to learn that to have somebody else in my life that wasn't necessarily on the destroy themselves on an hour by hour basis, that I needed to develop better balances. And that was working on a level completely outside of anything to do with spirituality, but at the same time, it was helping create balance in my 3D life that allowed various levels of focus and calmness to come into my life, that allowed the spirituality another doorway to enter back in.
Yep. So next point, we kind of addressed this at the very beginning of the video, and it's about clearing karma. So often other relationships come into our lives, or maybe come into your twin's life for a reason. And it's because they have had past lives with these other people, and there's karma to be cleared before they can get into union with you. So I know it's so hard sometimes for people. They're like, but how can this other person love somebody else? Don't they see I am their one and only love? That is ego talking. When you can understand that we are all connected, and that we all can share love, and that even though you have a very unique and special connection with this person, your twin, or you may have other people that you've had other lives with and need to clear some of those. For example, the last two partners that I had, the 6-year relationship and then the one previous to that I was married to, both of those people I had karma to clear, and interestingly enough, they both shared a past life together with me that also Rob was in. So there was a lot of karma that needed to be cleared from that past life between all of us. So Rob and I couldn't come back together in this life until I had worked through the karma with all those other relationships and cleared that, and healed the things I had done wrong in previous lives and the ways I had hurt them. We had to come back and work through those things first.
Many people think that the term karmic partner is a derogatory statement. We have had what we call karmic partners who we desperately loved and needed to have in our lives. It's very positive to have someone who will trigger and create events that help clear karma. It's not about creating karma, it's about clearing karma. That is the value of karmic partners.
Absolutely.
Number 6, self-awareness. Oh boy, you know, many people can be a mirror. There's the word right there. How many favorite words can we have?
in one video?
Yes. Mirrors. You know, sure, your twin is likely to be your most accurate mirror, but another soul that has traveled with you through numerous dimensions and numerous other times also is going to have lots of information to mirror back at you.
Totally.
And to experience that here in our 3-dimensional Earth, that is another reason to have another chance to have that self-awareness through what gets mirrored back to you by others.
Yep.
And being capable of being vulnerable enough to let them get close enough to actually mirror accurately back to you is important. There's a lot of braveness when it comes to reaching for self-awareness. And oftentimes it's not the braveness in the looking, it's the braveness and allowing others to mirror back stuff at you that you can see.
Yes. And a good example of that is, again, my last relationship. He was quite mean. He wasn't always mean, otherwise I wouldn't have stayed for 6 years. But there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of meanness in that, and it wasn't that I was victim to it. He was simply mirroring to me how I had treated others, namely Rob. When Rob and I were together, when we first met, it triggered so much fear in me. Of course, that deep love scared the crap out of me. So to push Rob away, I was really mean to him. So what my karmic partner was mirroring to me is exactly what I needed to look at within and heal in order to come back with Rob. So it was very beneficial.
Point number 7. I'd like to actually speak this one if I can.
Go for it.
To work through your stuff without hurting each other. Most of the time you're in separation because you have already hurt each other enough that it's created separation.
Yeah.
Sadly enough, there's others who end up finishing off the process of being the hurt ones sometimes by volunteering to be your karmic partner so that you can finish doing the work that only started your separation. Yes, other times other people end up volunteering to continue the work that you and your twin only got usually halfway through.
Yes. And I will say I am so grateful to my last relationship, my karmic partner, because he did, on a soul level, volunteered. He was like, I love you so much as a soul friend that I will come down and I will be the most challenging person I can be in your life to help you heal enough so that you can get into union. So we often see our karmic partners or our twins' karmic partners as like the enemy. They're like the bad one keeping us from our twin flame. But if we can look at it, switch it around and look at it that you're all actually on the same team, and your twins karmic partner, your karmic partner, soulmate, whatever relationship that you're in or they are in, you're all really on the same team on a soul level, and you've all agreed to do work together to help each other. And my karmic partner did so much work to help me trigger as many wounds in me as he could so that I could do as much healing as I could without having to do that ugly work with Rob, because it would have been really ugly if we had to do that together. I wouldn't have wanted to do that.
I don't know if I would have done it.
Yeah, you might not want to
No.
trigger all that in me.
I'd already fired you once.
That was
And
enough?
There was reasons for that. It's interesting how Angie being the spiritual twin and myself being the matrix twin, how we had our karmic partners be the opposite strength. Angie needed to learn a little more, I guess it would be empathy on the three-dimensional side, where my karmic partner taught me a lot more on the spiritual side. Now there was still teachings back and forth on, I'll say, all levels.
For sure.
But the focus was on each other's opposite. I learned more about Angie's world. She learned a lot more about mine.
Which goes back to the balance as well. Yes, I was very spiritual when Rob and I met. He was very human, and we were so imbalanced. So each of our karmic partners helped us find some balance in being more spiritual or being more human, so that we weren't here and here, we could be here and here.
While still having the ability to be here and here or here and
Yes.
here. We now had a middle ground.
Right.
Point number 8. There's no notes beside point number 8, and it's in Angie's handwriting, so it's all yours to start.
No. Oh no. Point number 8 is acceptance. And I forgot to write notes because when I was writing them, I was like, I can't even remember what acceptance meant. But what it means now,
I'm glad she's remembering.
thank God I can remember in the moment.
Remember.
That too.
Yeah.
It's accepting that you can have love with your twin flame while they are still with someone else, and that they can still love you while they are with someone else, and vice versa. If you're in a relationship, it doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean you don't love them. So it's learning to accept that you're always going to have love with them, even if they are with someone else for a time, for years, however long it takes. That you can learn to accept the journey as it comes and go with the flow. Part of surrender. I know, another one of those words we all love. But that's what acceptance is about, is learning to just allow things to be where they are instead of forcing your twin flame to be like, no, you shouldn't be with that person, you should be with me.
I have no points to add to this. It was very well spoken.
Okay, thank you.
Point number 9, finding yourself.
Okay, sorry, I thought acceptance was number 9. I thought maybe we made 2 number 9s, but we didn't.
No,
Okay,
we
carry
had
on.
an 8 and a 9. So finding yourself. When you lose your twin flame, you will learn to find them within you, thus find yourself.
Yes. So often we forget that we are connected with our twin flame, not just outwardly, but inside, right? They are always inside of us because you're the same soul. You're the same essence. So even if you are not together physically because you're either of you or both of you are in other relationships, it's remembering to understand and realize that you are always connected and learning to have that 5D connection through telepathy. So even if you're with another and then you're in another relationship or they are, you can still feel the connection. You can still talk to them in 5D. You can still know what's going on with them energetically. Not at all uncommon. So when you do that, you find yourself as well. Make sense?
It does.
Oh, goody.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Number 10 is almost a bit of a summary of the previous 9, but it isn't, because I'm going to take it off into a completely three-dimensional direction.
Oh, I thought you were going to use the word tangent.
No, no, no. You don't want me to go
No
on a tangent.
tangents?
There's not enough battery life in your poor little phone here to look after a tangent right now.
Fair enough.
Clarity and perspective. Now, this doesn't have to be a twin flame relationship. This is any relationship where you take a break and you step away from it, and then maybe you find somebody else that's a good person to have in your life for a moment. But when you take that time and step away from a relationship that likely has been all-consuming on all levels, it gives you a chance to look back at it and maybe see if there was some unhealthy points. Maybe someone was being a little bit codependent. Okay.
You had your codependent moments too, but I'll point to myself.
Or maybe someone was being too much of a doormat where they would just roll over and play dead and do whatever the other person wanted, and then when you're away from that relationship for a while, you have a chance to give your head a shake and realize that there was some unhealthy bits that you'd never see unless you were away from it.
That's right.
And when you've stepped into another relationship and somebody's treating you completely different, which often happens, it actually causes you to see the differences a lot more clearly, more than you could just see on your own. Because when you're on your own, you only have your memory. When you're with someone else, you have an opportunity to actually have a contrast between the two relationships. And so therefore, you gain clarity and perspective on what was not only right, but potentially wrong with the other relationship, with your twin flame relationship.
Yeah.
Well, you're away from it. It's excellent to gain that perspective.
Yeah.
And also, just to emphasize a point in a slightly different direction again, when you're away from your twin flame versus when you're not, when you're in with your twin flame all the time, on a three-dimensional level, getting all that contact, you sometimes step away from the 5D connection, the connection that first caused you to realize that you were twin flames.
Right.
So when you're in that 3D contact all the time, you step away from all those other things. But when you get into a different relationship and you're still getting those connections that could only be from a five-dimensional side, it allows you to gain clarity and perspective and reinforcement that your twin flame relationship really was what you had originally perceived it to be. So it's important to have other relationships, again, to mirror the differences and to allow what had disappeared for a while, possibly, with those 5D connections, to come back and reinforce themselves, even though you're completely focused in a different direction.
Yes. So, last point number 11.
Validation and confirmation.
And this is where you still get the confirmation that you are connected, that you will always be connected. So you might have weird things happen, even if you're both with someone else, if one of you is with someone else in another relationship, you might have weird things where you bump into them out of the blue. Like you may not even live in the same city or in the same country even. All of a sudden you just see them and you're like, what? How did that happen?
You might be on vacation and you've both just happened to choose the same vacation spot at the same time. People tell us that this happens. We never had that opportunity to try it,
No.
apparently.
Yeah, we didn't get that, unfortunately.
We didn't. No. That would have been fun.
That
would have been terrifying.
A cool example though, and we can share this because this person shared it directly on our Facebook page. So if you're connected with us on our Facebook page, TwinFinity, we just shared a post a couple days ago about, I guess it was a week ago now, about a bee situation that we had happen. And we shared the meaning of what bees are and stuff like that. And interestingly enough, one of the twin flames that we have met in person shared that she was camping and ended up at the same very small, very remote campground that her twin flame ended up at. and her twin flame is currently married to somebody else, and they have not had any contact with each other for years, and yet poof, they're right next to each other in this little campground out in the middle of nowhere. And she was just blown away, so she had to share that on our page and comment to let people know that this journey is for real, and it is confirmation that you are connected, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when somebody's gone off and gotten married to somebody else. So validation that you don't have to be in the relationship with each other at the same time to know that you are connected. You are always connected.
Still connected, have been connected, and will stay connected.
Forevermore.
And so that is our 11 benefits and blessings of other relationships during twin flame separation.
And of course, like we always say, there are many more than just 11 points. We only go with ones that we have experienced in our own journey or ones that you share with us. So we always invite you to share in the comments so that other people can benefit as well, because other people might be really struggling. This is one that a lot of people struggle with when their twin flame, especially when their twin flame gets into another relationship. And it just really hurts their heart. So if you can share some of your own benefits, your own experiences of how you've had some blessings of you or your twin being in another relationship and how it helped your journey or helped you specifically grow, that definitely helps other people on their own journey.
Just like snowflakes, no two stories are the same. And when you hear a story slightly different from someone else, it oftentimes will hit a trigger, either positive or negative, but usually positive is the way that it goes, for someone else to have their aha moment.
Yeah.
So even if stories are similar, speak.
It just helps people know they're not alone, right? Because this journey, often we feel alone. So when people read others' comments, they're like, oh, somebody else is going through that. I'm not crazy. I'm not alone. So yeah, that's why we always ask you to share. You don't have to, of course, but we invite you to. And on that note, I think we will say goodbye before it gets a little too dark. It is getting to be nighttime-ish.
It is. I'm going to admit that this is a September evening, and where we come from, to be able to stand outside at sunset in September with a t-shirt on and be comfortable, not be shivering, this is a bit of a blessing. So yeah, it's
Speaking of blessings.
Yes, exactly.
We'll have weather blessings.
Yep, we are very much in shade. The rocks behind us are now almost fully in shade. And yeah, it's been a beautiful evening.
Yes.
But thank you.
All right, guys, we will be back next month with another 11 video. And until then, we say good night and we love you as always.
Bye.
Bye.